And we're back, my friends. It's NFL Week 16, the spread. We're going to break down the big four. But before we get going, couple things. Can Joe Flacco continue his great play for the Browns? Yeah, I said Joe Flacco. It's not 2017 anymore. It's 2023. Is Tampa going to win the AFC South? I can't believe we're saying that. Can Miami finally beat a team over 500 this weekend? Are we looking at a Super Bowl preview for Baltimore and San Fran this Monday night? We'll see what happens, but before we really get going into this show, who had the sauce last week? Torchbearer Sauces does it again. The best sauce in the business, as we've said countless times. Put that thing on everything. Meat, seafood, hot dogs, beef, chicken, whatever you want, you're going to love it. Grab some wings, throw some of that hot sauce on it if you dare. Try it out. Go to the website. I'm not wrong. Trust me. But seriously, who had the sauce this week? Quarterbacks, Jake Browning, 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a big win for the Bengals. Baker Mayfield, almost 400 yards in the air, 381, 4 touchdowns. They beat Green Bay. Heck of a win. The old man still slinging it. Joe Flacco, 374, 2 touchdowns. And then, again, this pains me to say this, the Buffalo Bills have the sauce. Absolute ass kicking against Dallas. Hats off to those guys. They're playing the best football right now, probably outside of San Francisco. No sauce, the New York Jets. The New York Jets blown out last week 30-0. Defense, they quit. Major questions with the head coach now, so no sauce. And one quarterback who actively trying to get his head coach fired, Desmond Ridder. I call him the Riddler because he's a joke. He's going to get Art Smith fired down in Atlanta, but the guy's terrible, no sauce. Horrific last week in the loss to Carolina. But enough of that. We're here for the 4 big ones. Let's start us off. The Cleveland Browns -2.5 going into Houston. Over under 40.5. 71% of the public money is going to be on your Houston Texans. So how's this game break down? Well, Joe Flacco, we talked about at the beginning, almost 700 yards, 5 touchdowns past couple of games. His big target, he loves David Njoku. So do I, Miami Hurricane. But he's playing the best football of his career so far in 69 receptions, 704 yards, 5 touchdowns. That's going to be a big key to this game. But the real key to Cleveland's season so far has been that defense. Right from the first game of the year, they're number 1 against the pass. They're number 1 in total defense. In yards, they'll give up 261 a game. Myles Garrett, out of this world again. I think he already has 13 sacks on the season. Phenomenal play. Houston Texans, no C.J. Stroud again. Nico Collins should be returning. That's going to be a huge boost to Case Keenum. And any week they play, they have another strong defensive effort by that defense. I mean, they're coached by a former DC, and it shows every time. They did a great job against Tennessee last week and slowed them down and won the game. So what matchups can Houston win on offense? That's going to be really where this game comes down to. So I think you're going to expect a heavy dose of the running game, as the Texans don't want Keenum to drop back 30 times against that Browns defense. He'll get absolutely killed. So I'm going to go with the public on this one. As I said, the public money's on Houston. Give me the +2.5 at home, and they're still fighting for a playoff position, so we'll see what happens with that. Next game, Jacksonville Jaguars going into Tampa. Tampa, a 2.5-point favorite. Over under 41.5. 60% of the public money is going on Jacksonville. Wow. So Tampa is 7-7, first place in the NFC South, which is incredible. And Baker is chucking that ball up and down the field. Last week he was phenomenal. And Tampa, really, if you think about it, they're just a fun team right now. 3rd week of December, and Tampa is right in the middle of the playoff race. I don't think any of us would have said that before the season started. Last 4 games are averaging over 20 points a game. In those games, they're 3-1. That's really big point for Tampa right now. Now let's go to Jacksonville. A little bit different story. If they were a ship, that ship is starting to sink. Let's be honest. Last 4 games, 1-3. Trevor Lawrence, we've talked about him every single week that their game's been featured. Hasn't been much of anything. He had a few spots last week to step up, make that game against Baltimore close. Couldn't do it, missed a lot of throws. And the run game was absolutely terrible against Baltimore last week. Now, the positives for Jacksonville, Tampa's defense isn't anything close to Baltimore. You know, can Lawrence and that offense finally get going? The offense they raved about when they came back against the Chargers last year in the playoffs. Can that one get going? And then finally, can the Jags defense get off the field? Especially on those critical third downs. Can they do all that? All that being said, again, I'm going against the public this time. Give me Tampa -2.5. They're racing for first place for the playoffs. And at this point, who's to say if Jacksonville's even going to make the playoffs? I don't know what's going on with that team. But I'll tell you, I really, really like Tampa here. So here we go. Big game. Big game of the week, probably besides Monday night. Dallas Cowboys going into Miami. Miami, a 1.5-point favorite, slight favorite. Over under 50.5. 52% of the public money's going on Miami. So let's start off. New week for Miami. Same long injury report. Left guard's out. Right guard's out. Javon Holland's going to be a game time decision. Tyreek Hill's still limping around. But the big thing is, the show goes on. Nobody cares about injuries in the NFL, and Miami last week against the Jets kind of proved that. They came out, they played football there. So like I said, huge game for Miami. They need to win to stay on schedule for the AFC East and playoff positioning. They control their own destiny. So let's get into it. A lot here to like for Miami. Miami 6-1 at home, 56 touchdowns in the red zone. They lead the league in that. They have an outstanding running game. Can Miami, though, can they duplicate what Buffalo Bills did last week to Dallas, where they absolutely bullied Dallas from the beginning of the game all the way to the end? That's really for that. And then look back last week again for Miami. It was a great game for Waddle and Tua for a couple reasons. Yeah, Waddle had that big touchdown pass, but it really got them connecting again. It seemed for weeks they kind of struggled. They weren't on the same page, different routes, different. But now I think they're back in, they're connecting, and I think if Tyreek's out again or if he's limited, the offense is going to flow through Waddle. So let's see what happens. Now, Dallas, don't worry. All is still good for them, especially with Philly losing last-minute loss to Seattle. Win, and they're still in control of the NFC East. Parsons, though, last week, we got to put him on. He was on a milk carton. He was missing. So he needs to be a force on Sunday. He needs to take advantage of Miami's banged-up O-line. He's got to cause havoc for Tua. He's got to get Tua off his first and second reads, and he's got to slow down that running game. He has to set the tone for that defense. Now, Dak, he needs a big game too, after last week's awful performance. And then the other question is for Dallas, they're a little banged up on their O-line. Can that O-line hold back that suddenly surging Dolphins D-line? He's been playing some of the best football in the last 5 weeks too. For me, this one's simple. Here's why I like Miami here. I'm going to take, because it's almost a pick 'em. They've got the number one running game in the NFL outside of San Fran. They always go back and forth every week, them in Baltimore. And I love Tua's decision-making lately. The last 3 games, 0 turnovers. The big thing is, I also don't like Dak's performances on the road. He's been terrible, and the lack of running game in Dallas. I think you put all that together, it's going to be a tight game. I expect Miami to cover by probably at least 3. That's why I like them, -1.5 here. Now, here's the big one. Super Bowl preview. Everybody's talking about this game Monday night. Baltimore Ravens going into San Fran. San Fran's a 5.5-point favorite at home, over under 46.5. 53% of the public money, though, they like the Ravens here. We know already, San Fran's been crowned Super Bowl champions the past few weeks, and for really good reason. They've played incredible. Now here comes the AFC bullies. Probably the most physical team in AFC, maybe outside of Buffalo, but the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are going to test the physicality of San Francisco early and often. Can they get pressure on Purdy and not just let him sit back there like he's playing Madden and connecting with Debo, with Kittle, with all the other weapons they have? And can they limit the rushing attack? So it's going to be a tall task for that defense. But for the Ravens, the plan's very simple. Get a lead and get that lead into the fourth quarter, because Shanahan as a coach is 0-37 when they're down 7 or more points in the fourth. He's absolutely god-awful playing from behind as a coach. So the Ravens are going to look to pound the rock early and often, and it's going to set up like we talked about last week against Jacksonville. Baltimore's then going to look down to throw down the middle of the field, especially with Lamar Jackson's favorite BFF, Isaiah Likely at tight end. He had a huge catch down the field last week, phenomenal. But one key piece, Keaton Mitchell, unfortunately for him, tore his ACL in that game when his knee got completely bent backwards. Disgusting, but he'll definitely be missed. Now, San Fran, this is simple. This is a physical test. Can they respond? They've done so far all year. They've answered that call. But my friends, the rat poison's out there. It's out there for consumption. As Nick Saban calls it, it's everywhere. All the media is saying that this is a Super Bowl team. ESPN, Fox Sports, Twitter, everywhere you see. San Francisco's the favorites to play in the Super Bowl. They're going to win. No one can challenge them. Question is, has San Francisco players been eating that rat? Now, for me, this pick's easy. I think San Francisco still can win this game, but give me the 5.5 on the road as a Baltimore. Give me the plus 5.5. And that's it, my friends. We've hit them all. We've run through them quickly for you guys. Those are our 4 best big games. Now it's time. We're going to break it down even further for you guys. Easy money time. This one for me, I got my 2. They're locked in. Give me Tampa minus 2.5 and give me the Baltimore Ravens plus 5.5. And like I said, that's it. So lock those bets in early and often. Hope you guys do well. Let me know how you do in the comments. And as always, hit that like and subscribe. Like the episode. Love having you guys on here. The best of luck to everybody.